Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
Mr. Jake Bolks, who joins us now via the telephone. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Morning. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. What are the kiddos going? Are they going trick-or-treating tonight there, Jake?
Yeah, so they've had a couple of parties at school, and they're both dressed up as race car drivers.
Race car
drivers? So they got the full jumpsuit. Like my son's got a blue jumpsuit. My daughter's got a pink one with some racing-style hats and such. So me and my wife are dressing up in all black and being the pit crew for them.
Nice.
Well, you dress up in all black every day. That's nothing new for you.
It's funny. It's not much different. It's just a different shirt that has a flag on it. Otherwise, it looks like I'm just going to work. You're right.
You taking your taser and all that equipment you wear on your vest and belt?
We'll see how everyone's behaving.
Good answer.
Have fun.
Hey, Jake, we've had a couple people wanting me to ask you this, and it's been in the news the last couple of days, the invasive carp that's in the Chippewa River. And I know our news lady, Morgan, did a story on it too, but maybe you can give us a little bit more details about it and like the process surrounding it a little bit, like if you catch one or such.
Yeah, so I read through the press release as well. I've been aware of it throughout the summer. The press release does a good job of laying out the timeline. To be frank, I'm a little surprised it took so long for them to do a press release on it. I think they wanted to just verify everything for sure. But the carp were seen jumping. The first time we were notified of it was like through an Instagram video of someone that was like up here trying to catch them from like Iowa, and then that kind of sparked everything. And they've seen them jumping a lot below the Dells Dam, and then to be honest, they kind of disappeared, and they really haven't seen much of them. Not that they're not there potentially or this or that, but they've only seen a couple. They haven't, I think, collected like a live one yet. Just using their transducers and different stuff that they have in the river with tagged fish, and finding one skeleton of one, they were able to kind of confirm that they made it up through the Chippewa River and the Black River a little ways. So the big thing is what to do, like you just said, when you get that one, if you think you have one. So the state law doesn't allow anyone to transport them or keep them or introduce them or buy them for food or whatnot, but it does allow an exemption that if you catch one and you're fairly certain it is one, you can basically kill it and then put it on ice and bring it directly to a DNR service center or contact like a fisheries biologist or a warden. So the big thing with that is that there are a lot of native carp and different fish in the river that even myself can't identify, a buffalo versus a traditional native carp or this or that. So if someone's going to keep a fish out of the river, that they should do a really good job of making sure they try to identify it before just, killing something and bringing it to the DNR service center.
So Jake, what maybe one question people were, how did they get here? Or was it just kind of, traveling different bodies of water and such?
The high water this spring is what it was. So they've been in the Mississippi River for a while. I saw something in some paper somewhere at some time this summer about how they've been, like, some DNA samples. They found, like, the silver carp, they found DNA samples, like, in the Mississippi River, like, 3, 4, 5 years ago, but they haven't, like, identified any or found them. But they found the DNA in the water. And then in the last year or two, they've kind of identified some further south on the Mississippi. And then with all that high water this spring, I talked to some people or some biologists across the state, and some of them, I asked, like, how or what we can do, and they said, unfortunately, it was only a matter of time. Unless there's, like, there's something that 100% restricts access to moving up the river, it's only a matter of time before any fish, will move through the water. So, like sturgeon, we talk about sturgeon a lot, how they go from, the Mississippi or the Chippewa to the Mississippi to the Kinnickinnick or all the way down to Missouri and stuff like that. And it's the same for these invasive carp. So unfortunately, it was just like it was just a matter of time, and that high water is what I think was able to push them all the way up this spring.
What's invasive about them? Why are they, maybe a threat, or what? I don't know if that's a proper word to use or anything like that. But
it is.
Okay,
they're a threat because they basically, the ecosystem, there's a chain. Like all the animals have over, thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of years have found a way to balance each other out. And whenever you introduce new species, sometimes that new species flounders and fails, and sometimes they're just so well adapted already that they outcompete all the native fish. So in this case, this species is way more adapted to surviving different water levels, water conditions, temperatures. They eat more, they produce more. It's just like, it's like me going to the gym to play 5-on-5 basketball, and then Michael Jordan going to the gym. Michael Jordan's gonna beat me 9 out of 10 times, maybe 10 out of 10.
I was gonna say 9 out of 10 times there, Jake. Yeah.
Hey, I always want a little bit of hope if I'm going up against someone better. So it's just like they're just a better species at competing for forage or spawning or just overall surviving in the water conditions. And I don't know how they are when it comes to winter. I don't know what really cold winters do to that species. We have a invasive species program which would have all that info. So if anyone is really curious, you could Google like Eau Claire DNR invasive species, and there is a DNR contact that you could reach out to and ask questions or talk with.
Sounds to me, Jake, like these carp, with how robust they are, over time they could be a threat to our game fish, whether muskies, northerns, whatever the case may be. Is that the right thinking? Yeah.
I don't know exactly which species would flounder first or have a hard time or get outcompeted first, and how it would affect this and that. But at the end of the day, you're right. If they get up here enough and spawn enough and live here enough, it's only a matter of time. I'm sure we've all seen the videos of the Mississippi further south where you go driving on your boats and they hit you in the face because they're all jumping out of the water. And that would be a very unfortunate day if you go down to the Chippewa Dam and it's just, silver carp jumping everywhere.
What would it take to take extraordinary action for the DNR to be approved by the state or whoever to take immediate action, over and above, to shock these fish? And I'm sure if you can do it, there's probably some plentiful, like you said, down south, those videos of jumping out of the water. I've seen them. They're terrible. To get rid of these things, you got to take desperate measures, because
right.
if we don't have a fish population here, a domestic game fish population that brings people up here,
right?
What would it take to do that?
I wish I had a good answer for you on that.
Well,
one.
I'm sure you don't.
I think that's like the $1 billion question. I've seen down in Illinois, they've done like electro fencing where they basically electrocute the water, so fish like an electric barrier, so they don't get into Lake Michigan, which is extremely expensive. I know we have an investigative warden that specializes in this stuff, and he went down there and toured that and took a look at it. This is years ago, but it's just one of those things, unfortunately, like sea lampreys when they were introduced into the Great Lakes. It's one of those things where unless there is just a wall or something that 100% completely separates this water body from that water body, it just nature seems to find a way. I don't mean to take that from Jurassic Park, but it seems to no matter what all your efforts are or this or that, it takes 1, 2, 3 fish to get through a barrier or a barricade, or people think they're dead, they throw them on the side of the river and then they flop in and make it somewhere else. You just never can know, which is the hard part. So luckily up here, the Dells Dam and the Altoona Dam fish cannot pass between them. There's 0% unless they're human unless a human helps them. So they shouldn't get north of or upstream of either of those dams. So, the Chippewa and Eau Claire should be, even if they get thick up here, should stay relatively free of them as long as people don't introduce them.
Jake, really quick before I let you go here, too, I know we're getting closer to deer gun season. I know DNR, I've got the email yesterday, with reminder with dates and tips and such with the deer gun season, too. But also, deer are starting to get a little bit more on the move. I mean, I'm seeing bucks down my street now. It's getting to be that rut time, so they're a little bit on the move here. Are you noticing that too? Oh
yeah. Well, I think if you look at the side of I-94, you'd probably see that they're moving too. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I went down to Madison last weekend. There are plenty of carcasses.
It is littered with them, which stinks, and that's a discussion for a different day. But the deer are definitely moving. I've seen tons of pictures. I've seen pictures on my trail camera of bucks chasing does. Been working a lot of nights and stuff like that, and seeing a lot of bucks just with their heads down following does. So it's definitely that time of year. It's the quote unquote rut. It's going to get more cooler and more fall-like temperatures the next week. So I'm sure that will help. So it's looking good. It's a good time of year. Mm-hmm. And quickly, it's hard I'll just throw a PSA out there. I know it's hard for everyone to talk to each landowner around them and stuff like that. But just a reminder, there's no exemption for you to track a deer that you wound onto someone else's property, and there's no expectation that they allow you or that their numbers are public record. So I've been texting a couple people just this morning who shot a deer last night. They're trying to track it, but they can't get a hold of the people that live in Milwaukee and Racine, and I can't find any phone numbers for them and stuff like that. So unfortunately, that deer is probably going to have to just sit there and die, which is extremely, like I said, unfortunate. So if you can at least try to get phone numbers of your neighbors, in the summer or before the season, so you have at least a number to call and have that conversation, it's going to be very beneficial for your hunt this year.
Hey, before we let you go, I just saw this article. I know you're familiar with it. It's up in Siren, the bear attack on the dad and the 12-year-old kid that shot the bear to get him off his dad. We've had some unbelievable bear this year. Big bear. What's all of the easy winter last year made them patten up?
I haven't talked to the biologist this year. I think we talked about it a while ago, but I got the numbers a little early. They're not official yet, but it looks like we hit the quota and then some potentially. I think one of your listeners was nice enough to find that giant boar that was shot and send us the news link to that or whatnot. So I wasn't wrong. Some woman did shoot a pretty big bear this year in western Wisconsin.
Well, it's about 800 pounds or something?
It was a monster is what it sounds like. But I think, to your point, I think it's probably just a totality of the circumstances. The quota system where, we're not shooting too many, but, you're letting the population rebound each year. The mild winter where the bears were able to go out, the influx. I know there's not a lot of deer up north and this and that, but there is a lot of food. There's a lot of berries. There's a lot of prey for bears. So I think just like a totality of everything probably put itself together. And I didn't end up hearing how the acorn crop was this year. I knew it was good at the beginning. I don't know if that kept going or whatnot. So maybe if there was less acorns, or at least they didn't fall as heavily, maybe the bears hit the baits a little bit more. But whatever the case, there's a lot of bears shot and a lot of big ones.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I've got a trail cam that sends photos to my phone, and look, Bob, right there. Bear this morning walking through.
Boy, yep.
Right there. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, still walking through. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I got the video on there too, but I can't watch the video until I get the memory card. So we'll see how big it is over there. Jake, we appreciate the time. I know you're going to be coming in studio here in a couple weeks as we get closer to that deer gun season. So we appreciate the time. Be safe out there, and we'll catch up with you again soon. Okay?
That sounds great. Thanks for the conversation this morning, guys.